Good morning.
Good morning.
While we're waiting, you can start reading the assignment we're going to talk about for today, which is our first writing assignment. Anybody have any questions while everybody's coming in? Okay, this is the first writing assignment that we're doing. And there's a couple different things we're exploring with this writing assignment. So remember, the first thing you do with the pre-writing stage is you look at the assignment or the business piece of writing that your boss wants you to do and decide what's the purpose of it. So the purpose of this is to sell yourself to an employer so they want to ask you to come in and have an interview. So basically, you have to really consider your audience. What's in it for them about your qualifications? Okay. So this one, this assignment focuses on two major things I want to cover. One is considering your audience. Okay. The other one is something called parallelism, which we'll talk more about, but it just means making your grammar parallel when you make a list. And we'll extend that to when you make a list. I went to the store and I bought apples and bananas and pears. Well, it's parallel in the way that it's all fruit, right? But there are grammatical parallels that we'll talk about. So that's the purpose of this assignment, is to really get into thinking about what your audience wants. Okay. What do they need to know from you? If they're trying to fill a job, what is most going to appeal to them? So sometimes people who apply for jobs make the mistake of asking for what they want. Really, unfortunately, your employer doesn't care what you want. They're looking to fill their requirements as opposed to give you a certain salary that you want, or flexibility, or experience, or creativity. So you really have to think about what, as the employer, would you be looking for as you read. So this assignment has two components. It has a cover letter, which is basically a letter where you introduce yourself and your qualifications. So we're going to go over how to do that. And we're going to look at several examples. Okay. So this is the assignment on Brightspace. Now, the first draft is due on Monday. Okay. Um, February the 4th. Uh, it's just a draft, so don't panic too much about it. It can always change. You're going to read something also for next week called Shitty First Drafts as we get more into this, and we're going to talk about it tomorrow as well. But basically, drafting is just getting your thoughts down on paper. It may not be pretty, it might be pretty ugly. But so all you have to have for Monday is a draft, not a finished version. And we will continue working on perfecting it as we go from the first draft week to the second draft. So you'll have 2 weeks essentially to work on this assignment. Everybody good so far? So the first thing you're going to do is use an actual job listing from a company that you might consider applying for, a job that you might be looking. There's a maximum number of paragraphs. You need 3 body paragraphs for the cover letter. There isn't a maximum number so much for the resume, but you have to, if you're considering your audience, you have to say, if this looks pretty skimpy, it's not really going to appeal to my audience. So that's going to affect the grade. So we're going to look at some examples that have about the right amount of content so you can get a better idea what that is. And we're going to develop the skills that you guys have that you may, because you may not have had a lot of formal or official jobs yet, but you've had a lot of other experiences. Like you said, many of you are athletes. There's a ton of experience you can get with teamwork and leadership that you can apply to a job situation. Okay, so I've got also some specific advice for how to use your athletic experience or other unofficial jobs to add to your resume. Okay, so that you'll have the cover letter that introduces yourself and highlights your skills, really kind of pulls out the ones that they're asking for, and it's going to respond to a specific job. So you want to look for keywords in the advertisement and then repeat those keywords in your cover letter, because some of the places nowadays have computer programs and they'll just run everything through the computer program. And if you're not using any of the words or skills that they used in their ad, they might just kick out your application and never even have a human being read it. Okay. So the first part is the cover letter with the 3 body paragraphs. Okay. So these are the specific examples. You'll basically have this is the formatting. Okay, Times New Roman, 12-point font. You'll start, you'll have your letterhead at the top, and then you'll have the date. Then you'll have the person you're addressing your job application to. You'll have Dear Sir or Madam or Dear Mr. Johnson. And then the body of the letter. Okay, so opening paragraph, main paragraph, closing paragraph. And as I said, we're going to look at some specific examples of this. Today, we're just going to focus on the cover letter. Tomorrow, I'll talk a little bit more about the resume page. Okay. So you may have gathered some good information, hopefully, in your clustering that you could apply to your cover letter. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't find anything useful, but don't forget about that if you have some material that you can use in there. All right. So the purpose of this assignment is to really highlight your skills. So the first thing you have to do is find a job, right? So there are several websites that are good for that. Monster is one of them, right? Or if you don't know about that, this is a good one to go to. What other websites are you guys familiar with for job hunting?
Is LinkedIn one of those websites?
It is. It's got a slightly different format, but it definitely has networking opportunities, and they definitely post jobs.
LinkedIn is like a lot of like resumes and kind of like about yourself, like what you've already done, right?
Yeah, it's sort of like you have a permanent home for your resume. It's like a page devoted to you and your job experiences. And lots of employers look there. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention, I know in the instructions I have you need a specific job, but if you are going to eventually apply for a scholarship or an internship, you can also use this assignment to apply for a specific internship. So it doesn't have to be, just a paying job. It can also be a scholarship or internship that you're actually considering. Okay, so Monster is one, LinkedIn, Indeed. I don't know if you guys have heard Indeed. So you go there, you put in the place. Belleville, Illinois is where I am. So what do I want? I want teaching. You type in whatever keywords. So here's some long-term substitute teacher, tutor in St. Louis, teacher's assistant. Okay. So find a job that you're a specific real job that you're going to apply for, and then do a little research on the company, because a lot of times the way to stand out, because like they're getting hundreds of cover letters and resumes, right? How do you stand out from all of those? You show them that you maybe know something about your company. So if you're going to apply for a tutoring position and you look up their company and you can see, you know, I see you guys have been doing this for 10 years. It seems like you have a lot of, you know, good history. Yeah, you can use LinkedIn. Any place that has job listings. If you haven't yet looked, these are some good websites that you can refer to. There are even some local ones for newspapers. So if you can mention something specific that appeals to you about the company, that shows them that you've done a little bit of research, and that's going to put you, you know, above the rest of the crowd in terms of perhaps getting an interview. Again, consider your audience. They're looking for people who go a little bit the extra mile, maybe, right? Those are the people they want to hire. Okay, so remember those potential websites. There are others. These are just some major ones that you might be familiar with. So let's take a look at how to write one. So most of you are writing entry-level cover letters. You may have had jobs in the past. You may already have a cover letter that you've written. You might need to update it. But there's some basic formatting things that you can do. Well, first, let's take a look at a job listing and talk about picking out key terms. So let's say I want to be a tutor in St. Louis. St. Louis families are in immediate need of part-time tutors. Okay. So they're not giving me a lot to go on. Let's see. I'm applying company site. Go to the site. Let's see if they have any more information on it. No, they're just saying what the compensation is. All subjects and grade levels. Well, I know I'm going to need to talk about, I'm an English teacher, right? This one might be a hard one to tailor a cover letter to. Doesn't mean you can't do it. Let's see if we can find one that has some better information. How about a teacher's assistant? So this one has tons of information, right? This is a special education therapeutic day school. And usually if you see a list of bullet points, you know, these are the duties, right? And then make sure you look through and read the whole thing. These days, a lot of employers will put like an Easter egg in there, and they know if you didn't read the whole thing, they'll say, please put in the heading of your email to us tree, you know, just to make sure that you've actually read the whole listing. They'll hide something in there that people who are just kind of like, you know, skimming through and not really paying attention would miss. So they're looking for the highest education level. So you can see if have you done any of this? Assist with teaching with the use of technology. I obviously have experience using technology to teach. I would highlight those experiences in my paragraphs and my cover letters. The cover letter is sort of your chance to expand on the qualities and the qualifications you have, whereas the resume is just a quick list. Okay, this is a job I've had and this is what I did at that job. And then the cover letter lets you take that information and say, hey, I really learned a lot while I was teaching online, to engage students, to you know, keep track of attendance. You sort of develop with examples and give us more information about your skills. You'll do paragraphs. So the cover letter needs to have at least 3 paragraphs. They need to be full sentences. Now you can have things like a bulleted list in there as well. In fact, a lot of resumes and cover letters are going to that, but really the list thing is more for your resume than it is for the cover letter. The cover letter is where you get a chance to show them that you can write clearly and concisely and use correct grammar, but also sort of explain what your skills are and why you're the best candidate for the job. Okay. So I might highlight in my cover letter words like technology. If I've worked with students with IEPs, I'll highlight that. Curriculum. So you go through, pick out some keywords and see if you can apply them to your real world experiences so they can see, you want to address the audience. The audience is telling you, this is what we want. Somebody who can do all of these things. So if you don't put anything in your cover letter that addresses what they want, you're missing your audience, right? This is sort of your key here to what they want. So now let's look at how to write the entry-level cover letter. Okay, so this is a good page to go to. I'll put it in the chat also if you want to copy the web page to refer back to. These are also listed under content on Brightspace. There's some links. Okay, so your first paragraph, clearly introduce yourself, right? I saw your notice. It's even better if you have a connection through someone. Your supervisor, Darla, referred me to this position at your company. She said you guys are a great company to work for. My name is, okay, I'm interested in your position as a corporate trainer, you know. So basically who you are, what's the position you're interested in, and how you discovered it. Okay, so here's the example. My name is Sarah, and I'm a recent graduate from Purdue University. I graduated in December with a BA in communications. Now, you guys haven't graduated yet, so you can just modify it and say, I'm currently a student at McKendree, and I'm seeking to graduate in 2022 with a degree in criminal justice, okay, or whatever your degree field is, okay? An alumni forwarded me the job post, okay? Or maybe you say I was browsing Indeed and I noticed a lot of people from my college work at your company. Alumni forwarded me this job about your associate marketer position. I'm interested in this opportunity because I'd make a great fit for your agency. And then the second paragraph is going to explain how you make a great fit. Okay, so you got your basic introduction here. Mention if you have any, you know, connections with the company. Might be a good place to mention if, you know, I saw your company, I've heard of you, I think you have a good reputation. If you don't have a particular connection with it. Then the second paragraph, you're going to talk about your relevant skills, the skills that match up with what they're already asking for. Okay, this is the one that's a little more challenging, right? Especially if you don't have a lot of experience, but you do actually probably have more experience than you think. For example, you're all taking an online class, right? So some of the technology programs that you will have worked with after you take our class are Zoom, right? Microsoft Office, Word. I don't know if you guys will use Excel. I've used Excel in other jobs. So you type all of the technology experiences. So using online education platforms like Brightspace, right? So you haven't had a job with that, but you have experience, like you know how to go to a Zoom meeting, you know how to join it, you know how to participate. Okay. You have that basic level of technology. So I realize you're looking for a candidate with strong written and oral communication skills. Okay. Do a good job in this class, and then you can say, I have good, strong written and oral communication skills that would be an asset to your company. Okay. As an office assistant in Purdue's Office of Student Life, I was responsible for planning and promoting campus movie nights for students. This required me to promote the event on social media, send email blasts to students, and design flyers to post around campus. Okay. You guys will also have experience designing on Canva after this class. Okay. You have, I don't know, does anybody have social media accounts? What's the latest, most popular social media? Tell me what social media are you guys on? Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. Yeah, those are the ones I'm most familiar. I'm on Pinterest.
TikTok.
TikTok. Is it Tik? like that. What's Telegram? I think China uses WeChat. Ah, okay. So yeah, those all count as things that you are qualified to use, that you have used, that you could put on your resume. Okay, so you might have just a few sentences on all the technological experience that you have. I'm comfortable communicating through email, turning in assignments online, submitting documents, you know, all of that stuff. But again, this is the paragraph where you want to pick out some of those keywords that they used in the advertisement and see how they match up with skills that you have that you can highlight. Okay. Third paragraph just is basically a continuation of that. If you got any really, so this one's about matching what they want. And then if you can add more about extras that you have, does that make sense? So you want this to be the meat of it because you want them to see, oh, I wanted this, they match this, right? This is a good candidate. This is like gravy, right? In your third paragraph, this is all the extra stuff they may not have known they wanted, but that you can provide, right? So highlight your best qualities, explain why you're a good fit. During my final semester at Purdue, I led a group of 3 students to create a marketing campaign for an animal shelter in Indianapolis. So there's details that show you have real life examples. If you don't have a lot of real life examples, college is actually a good place to build those skills. I don't know if you guys, did they talk about in your, if you had the college orientation class, the volunteering app? You guys, are you aware of that? I can post it on Brightspace if you, and I'm trying to remember. I have it on my phone and I can't remember what it's called. Anybody remember? McKendree has a specific app with a company that they are hooked up with that lets you volunteer. And it's like, it doesn't have to be like you're volunteering for 4 months or 3 months. It can be, you can go and volunteer for 1 day at the food pantry. Okay. If that is applicable, I'm trying to remember what it's called. I'll post it for you guys. I can't remember the name of it at the moment. But basically, you just go into the app and you look to see what the volunteering opportunities are. If you have volunteered, that is good experience for a resume because many companies are civic minded, right? So if you can say, you know, I volunteered at my church, or I was the best Girl Scout cookie salesman in my troop, you know, even stuff like that is good for entry level, you know, experience that you can share. Also, it's interesting. It's interesting to read. They got to read a lot of resumes and cover letters. You want to kind of stand out in their mind for some reason. Okay, so it might seem a little goofy to include, but if it's memorable, you still might want to include it. Okay. So then you can incorporate your ending in this, or you can include a 4th paragraph that has a call to action. Wherever you put it in the 3rd or the 4th paragraph, you want what we call a call to action, which means thanks for your time. Please contact me at, you can contact me either at, here's my phone number, here's my email. And I know you have all that stuff, you know, probably in your document, but if you put it right there in the last paragraph and they've already read your letter and they're like, and then suddenly you give them all the information they need right there without them having to click on another thing or go another place, they might actually call you. Okay. So you want a call to action. I look forward to hearing from you soon. That's a little weak sauce, you know? So I always suggest that you put, you can contact me here at my email address or give me a call anytime. Okay. So let's see, let me put it all together. So here's an example of one. So this is what I mean when you've got your name and your basic information at the top, you have sort of a letterhead style that has your basic contact info. Okay, then you're going to put the date. This is another example. Let me put it in the chat also. I'm on a different page. These are still on Brightspace. Okay, the name of the person who you are contacting. It's always better if you can find a human being, even if they're not the right human being. If you put it to, just to whom it may concern, and sometimes you have to, I'll acknowledge that. But if you can send it to a person, even that person's not the correct person, they can get it to an actual other human being. If you send it out into the ether with no specific address, it may go from person to person before somebody's like, I guess I have to do something about this. Okay. So a good thing to look up is the Director of Human Resources. Even if they're not always the person who's looking at the job application, they can get it to the right person. I mean, it's better if you can get it to the person who's, and target it if you can. But if you can't, get it to the HR director. There's your salutation, dear Miss You. And then your introductory paragraph, right? So remember what I said, you can include a few bullet points. Don't go crazy with them. So we have our basic 3 paragraphs, 3 bullet points, and then your closing paragraph. I'd like to meet you, and share more of my qualifications. Please feel free to contact me. So remember when I said read as a writer? Okay. So this is your opportunity to, now don't steal word for word, but steal ideas and, maybe some of the way they're formatting, if you think what they're doing is presenting it effectively. Okay. So it doesn't have to be long. And in fact, you probably don't want it to be too long because they're looking through a lot. You do want it to be grammatically immaculate, but for the first draft, it does not have to be. Okay. The first draft can be a mess. The one that's due on Monday. We're going to polish it. We're going to make it pretty. We will make it perfect. But for this, we're just getting started. Okay. So what I'd like to do is give you some time to do a draft paragraph. Okay. This is another brainstorming technique that we call a zero draft. So yesterday we talked about using clustering or using like a grocery style list to brainstorm for material. A zero draft is when you just start writing. You give yourself like 10 minutes, you set a timer, and then you start writing. First, take about 5 minutes to find a job. It doesn't have to be perfect. Take about 5 minutes, go to Indeed or Monster or one of these, find a job that sounds interesting to apply for, and then write a draft of your first paragraph, introducing yourself. And then post it in the chat. It'd be good if you could post the job title you're applying for first. These do not have to be perfect. They don't have to be close to perfect. They just need to be a draft. Okay? So, questions? All right, it's 8:30. You've got till 8:35 to find a job to apply for. Now, we probably won't get through all of it this class, so we may look at some of them tomorrow. So put them, save them to a document or something. But we'll see if we can get a few on here today. It can be short and sweet. We've got 10 minutes left. here's the instructions for the first paragraph. If you have a question, you can type it in the chat as you're working through it. Julian, you can do it either way. You can write it like you would be applying for a job right now if you're thinking about applying for a job, or you can write it projecting, hi, I've just graduated from McKendree University. So I'll let you decide if you want to do that. So for example, if you're going to pursue an internship at some point, you could act like you've already completed the internship. So both are acceptable. Okay, Isabella, good. Good. It's a good intro. Do you know what you're going to, what degree you're going to pursue? If you do, I would add that. If you don't, that's fine. It's fine the way that it is. So I'd say I'm currently enrolled at McKendree University studying early childhood education. If it applies, if it's not, you're fine. You don't have to. Lots of people are undecided at this point. But if you already know, it's good to add it in there. It's got all the elements. You introduced who you are, the position you're interested in, how you discovered the opportunity. Very good. Okay, Devin, good start. What position is it that you're applying for? Claire, you're doing personal trainer?
Yeah,
Sounds like an interesting job.
yeah.
I really like your last sentence, Lily. I would say maybe tell them that you were specifically looking for a job working with animals. That kind of shows your interest. But yeah, very good. Who you are, a little bit about yourself, the job, and how you found it. Camilla. Ooh, cool. I love politics, Camilla. Good, but I would maybe move some of these sentences because there's lots of good information in here. I'd move some of these to your second paragraph. So the information about being fluent in 3 languages, I'd move that into your second paragraph and stick with just the basic opener. I like that you tell us from Brazil, what you're studying, and then include
Okay.
how you found the job. And then keep
Yeah.
all that good info. That's it. And that's what you do while you're drafting. You start writing things that you're thinking.